Good evening. This is the July 9th, 2026 meeting of the St. Mary's County Board of Appeals located in the Commissioners of St. Mary's County Meeting Room of the Chesapeake Building, 41770 Bulger Street, Leonardtown, Maryland. I am Chairman George Allen Hayden Sr., here with 4 other board members. We have met our minimum requirements for a quorum and will now proceed with the meeting. And we'll start with the introduction of the board, and we'll start to my left.
Donald LaRocco.
Good evening, I'm Rita Weaver.
Good evening, I'm John Brown.
Ronald Payne.
And with us this evening is Michael Valke, our alternate member sitting in the audience, and Steve Scott, our board attorney. And John Sterling Hauser, Deputy County Attorney. Stacy Clements, Planner 4, Land Youth Growth Management. Andrew Cheney, Planner 2, Land Youth Growth Management. Amy Carter, Video Producer Manager. Daniel, not here. We have 2 hearings this evening, and our first hearing is variance application VAAP 26-0485, the Schonbauer. And from the county, who's going to be, you making the presentation this evening? Stacy, you going to be testifying as well? Okay. Let me get you sworn in, please. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimonies, responses, and statements you may give with the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, great. You can start whenever you're ready.
Alrighty. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Everybody
Alrighty.
okay?
Tonight's first public hearing is variance application VAAP 26-0485 Schonbauer. They are requesting a variance from the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, Section 71.8.3 of the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to disturb the 100-foot critical area buffer for a 12-foot by 18-foot deck attached to an existing dwelling. The legal ad was printed in the local newspaper, Southern Maryland News, on June 19th, 2026 and June 26th, 2026. Certified mailings were sent to adjacent property owners located within 200 feet of the project property, and a public hearing sign was posted on the property on or before June 24th, 2026. The owners of the property are Francis Schonbauer III and Heather Schonbauer. The property is 13,056 square feet according to the site plan and currently has 1,215 square 1,215 square foot house and 18 square foot porch, 60 square foot walkway, 262 square foot shed, and 616 square foot driveway for a total of 2,171 square feet of lot coverage. The property is located at 20379 Bowles Road in Colton's Point. Its land use is rural preservation. It is zoned Rural Preservation District. The critical area overlay is Resource Conservation Area and Limited Development Area. The whole property is located within the 100-foot critical area buffer. The applicant is requesting a variance for a 12-foot by 18-foot deck attached to an existing dwelling. It'll be in the 100-foot buffer. The critical area commission responded on June 9th, 2026. Agencies completed the review and approved the project. That have approved the project are Department of Planning and Zoning, the Health Department, permits and inspections, stormwater management, hydric and highly erodible soils, steep slopes, and wetlands. This is the proposed plan. The deck is here, and then here's a closer view of it. Mitigation is at a 3-to-1 ratio for permanent disturbance. The applicant will plant a total of 648 square feet. A buffer management plan and agreement must be approved by Lugum staff prior to the issuance of a building permit. And then, are there any questions?
Anyone have any questions for staff?
I've got one. You showed what the existing lot coverage is. What is the max that's allowed? How much are we inside that?
So, this one is a bit difficult because it's split into two. So, just to give you a picture of what I'm talking about, the RCA is the green area, and the LDA is the yellow area. So, everything's going to be in the LDA. So the lot coverage limit is 2,727 square feet. And with everything proposed, it'll be 2,625 square feet.
So we're underneath the max,
Yes.
Okay.
even with the proposal. That's
Yes.
first question. Okay.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Cheney? Okay. Mr. Sean Barrow, if you would like to come up to present your case, you can come sit at the desk.
Okay.
Okay. And let me get you sworn in, please. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony, responses, and statements you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And before you get started, just give us your name and reference to the project, if you would.
My name is Francis William Schoenbauer III, and the property that resides in Colton Point, Maryland is 20379 Bowles Road.
Okay. You can pull that mic up so you don't have to.
Thank you.
There you go. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so yes, we were requesting a variance to put in this deck, and we purchased the property a couple of years ago, not really at that particular time knowing it was in the critical zone, but I just want to say thank you for hearing us, and special thanks for AJ and Stacy and Sherry. They've been very helpful to us, very responsive in our questions and understanding what we're doing. But our hope is that we can just put in this deck to make a nice, safe area for, we have a couple of elderly folks that come to visit with us, and just have a nice place that we can sit out and enjoy the water view.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's really about it.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Sean Bauer?
I do. So can we bring up the pictures?
Oh, do I have the PowerPoint
You're
here?
talking about the ones that's on
Yes.
Oh.
the board docs, right?
It's should be up right now.
Are the ones on board docs that he can get?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Is it-
Let me do this real quick. I'm going to try and open it one more time.
What we can do is have AJ.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stacy.
How about now? Is it working now? Oh, okay. I'll go ahead. Yeah. All right. Here's the pictures.
Okay, can you, well, actually, stop right there first. So could you point to where the deck is going to go on as relationship to this picture right here?
Should
Yeah,
be right
sure.
here.
Right there where you're circling.
Right there, okay.
Yeah, I think the picture that AJ had up earlier
On the
outlined it.
south side.
Okay.
Is that it?
And now my next question is, there's like a shed, a boat shed, is that going to remain?
Yes, we were hoping that would remain. That's been there with the property for
Okay.
as long as we know.
And then what if, because I see, okay, you can go down on the slide now. Okay, so it looks like there's another shed right next to the house.
Yes, there is a shed to the right there. I think that was named earlier. I think at like 200 square feet. If I remember, it was like 12 by 8. That was also there with the property.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And those sheds are in good shape?
The shed was new. The boat shed was actually in good shape too. It was a center block building. As we understand it, the original owner was Mr. Faunce, who was a waterman, and he used to use it to shed crabs out.
Right, yep.
The other thing you'll notice in the picture, you'll see some construction. We're installing a living shoreline that was approved. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it looks like everything is, the bottom left one looks like everything is kind of not dug up, but,
yeah, that's what they're using there. There's that cribbing for putting the rocks in.
okay.
In these pictures, which one of these 6 pictures is the deck going?
Do you see the bottom middle picture that's has the
Tree on the left and
the ribbon
Yeah.
that's traced out? That's pretty much the footprint of it.
That's what basically the footprint of where the deck will go?
Yes, sir.
So the tree will stay there, won't it?
Tree,
Mr.
the
Schoenbauer?
tree will stay. We want to use that tree. It's a nice shade tree.
And otherwise, you were mentioning that it'd be a safer entrance. Where do you have to get in now relative to that?
So I don't know
Picture.
if you can see in that bottom middle picture, there is a set of steps that goes in. So we're intending to keep that and then just have the deck built around it.
Now, will you have stairs coming off of the deck then onto the ground area?
We'll use that same set of stairs
Okay,
that are already there.
okay. I didn't know if you were having something like off the other side or something like that, where like a stair would come off of the,
A second set of stairs,
Yeah.
perhaps. That hadn't really been considered, but it could be. I mean, if it would in any way aid.
because usually that has to then be put into the calculation of.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking, because a lot of times people are going to do it and then they don't think of
Yeah.
putting it in the
Well, really, the
plan.
12 by 18, if you, I think, took in consideration the steps that are there remaining, would actually remove a little bit of that at the same
Okay.
time.
Okay, those are my questions.
Any other questions? Mr.
Yeah,
Payne, you
I
have any?
have a couple, sir.
Okay, Mr.
Hey, sir, you mentioned older people will come by and stay with you. Do any of them use a walker or wheelchair or any aids? And
Not at this point.
okay, there's a reason we asked that question.
Sure,
So
yeah.
you build that deck.
Yeah,
once-
my wife's mom's 83, and then we have a friend that comes down on occasion. She's still walking without assistance, but she's also in her 80s, so. But she likes to come down and watch the waterfowl and the wildlife that.
Oh, I'd love to
there's-
watch it with her.
Yeah.
Just if you're going to build that deck, we want to make sure you
Right.
count for that, right,
Yep,
Chairman?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Payne, you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Anything else you have?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. So let's open it up to public comment, testimony. We don't have any written testimony on this, do we? I didn't think we did. Okay. Anyone wishing to testify in this case this evening? Seeing none, we'll close the public testimony, written and verbal comments and board discussion.
I'll go first. It seems pretty simple request. They're keeping the tree, which I like. They got approved for the living shoreline. Seems like they're trying to maintain this property and make it look good and usable. So I'm for it. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with it.
I think it's very reasonable. I mean, and then he's trying to enhance it for, shall we say, the more senior of us that may be trying to enter the house too, okay? On that
Correct.
side.
Mr. Payne, you have any comments?
Not really.
Okay. I don't have any comments either, other than I'm right here with the rest of you. I think it's a very reasonable request, and I would support the motion. if someone would like to make a motion.
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. In the matter of VAAP 26-0485, the Schoenbauer property, having made a finding that the standards for granting a variance and the objectives of section 24.3 of the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance have been met, I move to approve the variance request pursuant to section 71.8.3 to disturb the 100-foot critical area buffer for a 12-18 deck attached to an existing dwelling.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and second. We'll start to my left.
Aye.
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 Aye. So, Mr. Schaumbauer, you can see that the board has voted unanimously to support your request this evening, okay? In order reflecting the board's decision will be prepared by staff and signed by the board within 60 days. A 30-day period followed from the date the order is signed, during which any aggrieved party may appeal the board's decision in circuit court. And the recording secretary will email you a copy of the order once it's been signed. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Okay,
Have fun.
thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Our second case this evening is a variance request, VAAP 26-0633, Cole and Lee. Mr. Cheney, you presenting that one as well?
Yes.
Okay. So,
The second public hearing is variance application VAAP 26-0633, Cole and Lee. They're requesting a variance from the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance 71.8.3 to disturb the 100-foot critical area buffer for the repair and expansion of a sunroom, a deck, and a porch attached to an existing dwelling. The legal ad was printed in the local newspaper, Southern Maryland News, on June 19th, 2026, and June 26th, 2026. Certified mailings were sent to the adjacent property owners located within 200 feet of the project property, and a public hearing sign was posted on the property on or before June 24th, 2026. The owners of the property are Timothy Cole and I don't want to butcher this, but I'm going to say Min Lee. The property consists of 36,590 square feet according to SDAT and currently has an existing house and driveway. The property is located at 26174 Skyview Drive in Hollywood. Its land use is rural residential. I do want to note that in the staff report, it says the land use is rural preservation, but it's actually rural residential. It's zoned residential neighborhood conservation. The critical area overlay is limited development area. The property has an existing house and a driveway right here. The applicant is requesting a variance for a 273 square foot sunroom, a 452 square foot deck. They will also be converting a stoop to a porch and a carport to an enclosed space. The Critical Area Commission responded on April 22nd, 2026. The commission has determined / stated that no new lawn or turf is allowed within the buffer, and the footprint of the existing dwelling must be stabilized in native vegetation. Also, the applicant has the burden to prove each critical area variance standard is met, including the standard of unwarranted hardship. This is the site plan. This is what's existing already, and everything that they're going to be getting rid of is shaded in gray right here. They're also getting rid of some sheds as well. This is what will be proposed. So this is the carport that's being converted. This is the deck. This is the sunroom, and this is the porch. This is a closer look of everything. Mitigation is at a 3-to-1 ratio for permanent disturbance. The applicant will plan a total of 3,162 square feet. A buffer management plan and agreement must be approved by Lugum staff prior to issuance of a building permit. Are there any questions?
Any questions from Mr. Cheney?
Not at this time. I guess, just so you may be looking it up while we go in. You got the current lot coverage that I think has been calculated and put here, but we're actually, I believe, reducing lot coverage, are we not on this?
I think we might be. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, if you look at some of the drawings, it is at 9.6% lot coverage. With the proposed stuff, it goes down
Of
to 8.5.
8.5%. But I mean, I just was making sure that we have this in the record, that we're within the footprint, within the existing coverage limitations, and in fact, we are reducing them. Is
So
that what I
right now-
see here?
Right now, there's 3,371 square feet, and with everything proposed, it'll be 3,989 square feet. And the lot coverage limit is 5,489.
Now, that seems to be different from what I see in the attachment provided. with this
Yeah, I have 2,961.
161.
That's what's being added.
Oh, well, they list everything of what's,
So there will still be existing lot coverage, but they are proposing the 2,670.
oh, they're adding 2,961.
Right. So they're removing 2,053 square feet, and then they're adding 2,671 square feet.
So it's a net gain and not a decrease.
It is.
Okay. Glad I asked the question,
Yeah, me too.
because I had the impression that you were actually reducing 400 square feet.
Right.
618 is what I get as an addition, right?
As the additional lot coverage,
Yes.
I believe that is correct.
Okay. And then we can ask the applicant when he comes.
Yeah, the same thing.
Okay, with the additionals coming in at, so. Okay. Mr. Cheney, you have anything else?
No, I do
Anyone
not.
else have any questions for Mr. Cheney? Okay. Mr. Cole? And before you get settled in, let me get you sworn in, please. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony, responses, and statements you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And will you be clicking?
I will,
Okay,
yes.
And for the record, if you would give us your name and reference to the project.
My name is Min Lay. I am one of the owners of the residence. I'm also a licensed professional architect in the state of Maryland. So I did all the design drawings.
Okay. So did you have the creek named after you as well?
No, that was just pure coincidence. So on this slide, our property is located in Hollywood Shores in Hollywood, Maryland, directly off of, at the end of Jones Wharf Road off of 235. And our property, as you can see, backs up to Coal Creek. Next. This is a view of the main house off of Skyview Drive. And tonight, we are requesting a variance to demolish structurally deficient portions of the residence and to rebuild them on the existing building foundation. Yes, sir.
As we go through these pictures, can you identify to the board
Yes.
what you're going to take out in
Yes,
each
and I have,
picture?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the image on to your right there behind the car, that entire structure just of the carport and the space above will be demolished. And and you can barely see to the right, the roof of one of the little sheds behind the composter is also getting removed. And I have a few more photos and drawings to share.
Okay.
Next slide. So this is the site plan that you saw. So the property is about 0.84 acres, and the original house was a one-story residence that was built in 1962, which predates the 1990 adoption of the critical area program. And over the years, before we purchased the house in 2015, prior owners had done multiple additions that we cannot date or determine. The sunroom, a deck, the second floor above the main residence, and then the follow-on carport bedroom. From the records we found, there was a permit request in 2004. Next slide.
Before you leave that slide, can you tell us what the red line and the blue line are?
The red line is the 100-foot critical area buffer line, and the blue line is the expanded buffer line that AJ provided me.
Yes.
Is that
Okay.
correct? Thank you, AJ.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And there's also a large driveway that's approximately 650 square feet. That's a solid concrete driveway that we also plan to demolish. Next slide. So these three images, the main intention here is to talk about the carport. The prior owner or owners had built this carport, and it was built improperly. And you can see that the framing on the image on your left and the center image, it shows the discontinuous framing. All three sides of this carport, these walls are all load-bearing. They're either carrying the roof load or they're carrying the floor joist loads. And the discontinuous framing is non-compliant with current or even previous building codes from 20 years ago. So this has to be removed and replaced and rebuilt correctly. And the image on the right just shows you another photo of the backside of that carport addition. And we believe that we know that the existing joist and framing have been left exposed for the last 20 years. They did use pressure-treated lumber and they painted it, but it is now showing signs of rot that need to also be replaced and repaired. Next. So the two images to your left, the one in the middle on the left, we were experiencing significant deflection in the floor joists of that bedroom above. And so we had to build, as an emergency case, temporary shoring to stabilize the deflection and until we had the financial means to do a proper replacement. So I personally built both of these temporary shoring to level out the bedroom above until we had time to do this renovation project. The image on the right, it shows you where they did not, so there's an existing foundation wall, and the next slide will show that, but in that red area, that is where the existing foundation wall is located below, and we also want to rebuild that wall and place it directly on top of the foundation wall to ensure proper bearing that will support the roof load. So that's another area where the addition was not built properly and correctly.
That's what that red line is?
Yes. Next slide. So if you look from below, this is the deck, and what you see there highlighted in the red dashed line in both the left image and the middle image, the majority of the joist hangers supporting the deck have corroded, and we have added additional rim board to add additional area to fasten, to provide additional fastening to keep those deck boards, joists in place. And then we note that the prior owner in the middle image had installed temporary shoring because I assumed that the joists were deflecting. Therefore, they added that as a temporary bracing measure. Unfortunately, those existing columns that they installed, there is no sign of any proper foundation or footing. So our request is to demolish this deck completely and to rebuild it using current codes as well as newer materials. And the next slide, I believe, this is the sunroom. This is hard to photograph because of the angle of the slope, but in the left image, you'll see the sunroom from the outside. In the middle image, they show the existing sunroom. 60% of this floor was what we suspect was previously an outdoor deck because the entire floor is sloped by about 2%. So what we assume happened is that a previous owner simply added sheathing and installed a flooring over it and then just built and enclosed that space to be an enclosed sunroom. And given the fact that the existing floor joists are 2x10 members, the sunroom portion we suspect just by measurement that it ranges as small as 6-inch depth to as high as about 8-inch depth, which does not comply with current codes for structural floor framing. So our request here is to demolish the sunroom completely and to rebuild it on the existing foundation to current code. And the image on your right is a shed that goes down to the pier that has reached structural failure and needs to be demolished for life safety and personal liability. We want to demolish it, and we will restore that area to native vegetation.
Those stairs that are in the right picture, do they go down to the shore?
They go down to the pier, yes.
And those going to be replaced?
No, those will remain in place. They are still, they look bad, but they're actually fine.
Okay.
I also ran out of money to pay for that, so.
I can understand.
So this slide gives you a comparison of the before and after. On your left is a demolition plan. All the the dark brown and light brown colors shows what's being demolished, the carport, the sunroom, and the deck. I added the shed there as scale. It is a sizable shed at 153 square feet, and there's a small shed at the bottom right, 39 square feet. And then again, the driveway is solid concrete. It's about 685 square feet. That is all being demolished. And the image on the right, it shows you what was being proposed. Again, the sunroom is being built on the same foundation. We are requesting an extension of that sunroom, but that will be purely through a cantilever, so there will be no impact to the building footprint, and the space below will be planted. The kitchen, so the carport, our request is to enclose that with occupied space for the kitchen, and it is growing because we are moving that planned north wall to align with the foundation wall, so that we have a clear distribution of the load from the roof down to grade. And so that's part of the increase. And then the deck, we are rebuilding the deck in the exact same location, the main part. We are requesting an expansion of the deck by approximately 185 square feet, which would overhang the hill. But then we're also going to plant the majority of that expanded area with native vegetation that is drought and shade tolerant below. Any questions on this slide?
The only expansion you have is what's outlined in red.
Correct.
Okay.
And the next slide is the mitigation. So I understand we have to obviously provide a planting mitigation, and we have planned to do this from the very beginning anyway. By removing the concrete driveway, our intention is to replace it with a pervious driveway. So the design is for just gravel gravel path with stepping stones for the wheel well of the vehicles, and then those will be planted in between with vegetation. And you can see the number of trees that we're adding. I think it's 8 of the dogwood trees, 6 of the sweet bay magnolias, and several azaleas and hydrangeas, and then ground cover with the Pennsylvania sedge. So all of that will be landscaped. It has been our intention to landscape this lawn and to remove a lot of the grass, the regular turf, and replace it with plantings, mainly because I'm lazy and I don't want to mow the lawn. So that is the mitigation. And then the next slide, I think the last slide, all the plantings we selected were from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife brochure for Chesapeake Bay. So these are all native plants to this region.
Any questions?
So how is the structure of the house itself? It seems like everything else is.
So we did a renovation when we first bought the house in 2015. There were significant oddities when we began removing drywall. And so that first renovation, we repaired a lot on the main structure of the house. And right now, the main part, the sunroom and the sunroom and then the bedroom above the carport, you can feel it moves. And so that's the main goal, is just demolish them and repair them. I did meet with several contractors and discussed the option of just trying to repair it in place, and that became too prohibitive because of the amount of shoring we'd have to build just to demolish the load-bearing walls and then to rebuild it. And it still would not have complied with current codes because of all of the fastening and lateral bracing requirements needed for the floor framing. It was very intensive, and the easiest and quickest solution by all the contractors and my structural engineer was it's better to demolish it and to start from scratch.
Sounds like the movie. You've got a money pit here, right?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Payne? Question?
Oh, yeah, I had a question for staff. You know, reading this seems like a tale of woe. And has staff been out there to look at this property, and is it inhabitable now?
Were you asking if we went to visit?
Well, I'm concerned about safety, okay? And reading this I neglected to see, you know, where you shored it up. I didn't see that in here. But is it habitable?
I think the way I'll try and answer this one is discern what level of inspections are going to be required. And remind me, and pardon me for being fixated on matters, the house, it's not a complete tear down and replacement, it's only a portion.
Correct.
So the applicant would be entitled to the use of the existing structure if the applicant wants. We do have a livability code in the county, Chapter 236, certain minimum standards for the structural integrity, the habitability of a house. Does not apply against owner-occupied residential property. If you want to live in a house that may have an issue, may or not, St. Mary's County lets a person take that risk. Where it would apply, though, is if he rents it out to another person and that other inhabitant of the house were to discover a structural defect, an issue with the HVAC, plumbing, whatever the case might be that would render the property uninhabitable. At that moment, Chapter 236 could apply if, in fact, there were a violation of the livability code at the property.
But I think Mr. Cole said he remodeled that house itself at the beginning of it. And he ran into some anomalies that they had to correct as they went through. So I'm thinking that, and I'm just thinking out loud, I'm thinking some of those anomalies were some structural probably issues that they had to fix before he could continue moving on.
Well,
Am I correct?
does the county have any structural engineers?
I'm sure we got one or
Employed
two
him.
on staff somewhere, but if he ever did also a substantial renovation of the interior dwelling or the interior project or change that, that could, depending on the level of the renovations that were done or what would trigger the need for additional inspections to make sure subsequent work then was done up to code. But if he's got an old house, and look, speaking as someone who bought the 1860 build date money pit himself, you do what you want with the house. You got the right to live in it, even if I, might pass on it myself, which clearly I wouldn't.
May I? So when we renovated the house in 2015, 2016, we just renovated the main part of the house, and that's where we discovered a lot of anomalies with the framing. And so we did repair all of those existing floor joists in the main part of the house, and MDIA did make multiple visits with the contractor. And so we had to shore up the roof and repair the roof rafters. and that was a whole separate saga from 10 years ago. But yes, we do have, MDIA came out several times with our contractor through different phases of the inspection on that renovation.
So that helps me too, and now I don't have to ask the applicant the awkward question of whether he pulled a permit for any renovations he did in the past. Because if MDIA was out there, that tells me it did.
Yes.
So you would have declared, obviously, even though you're keeping the original house, you would have had what we would call a substantial renovation where you added more than 50% of value to the house. That would have triggered the need for inspections up to the current code, or at least the code that exists for existing dwellings. And that would have been done by MDIA, who the way county inspections for that something work out. MDIA is a third party, but they've got the professionals to be an inspector. Rather than send quote-unquote county inspectors out ourselves, the way we are set up, homeowners have to hire that third-party inspector. They perform the inspections. They turn in the results of the inspection to the county. So that building has been inspected for conformity with the International Building Code for existing buildings, if MDIA went out there. And now I don't have to ask you, did you get a permit or not? We have an awkward moment
The
here.
numbers on the second slide.
And with And he's hired an engineer to design other pieces that he's put on, according to what his testimony said, right?
I'm sorry?
You've hired an engineer to design
Yes, help- a
the
structural
rest of these items that you're attaching back to the house.
Yes.
So they'll be attached in the following all the codes that we have in St. Mary's, and they'll be inspected by MDIA again
Can you go back
to tie it all in. So,
comparison slides?
what I'm reading from what you
Yeah.
have testified in.
Right. So another thing that my structural engineer is making me do, so what's in gray on your right between where the new kitchen is and the white space, that entire wall, I'm having to turn into a shear wall to handle the lateral bracing. She's making me upgrade that from that level and up to the second level, just because we suspect that the previous owner didn't properly provide the lateral bracing needed when they made these different additions. So we're going to do that as well. To answer your question, is it habitable? Yes, it is habitable. As of today, it's not, because we've moved all the furniture and everything out of it, getting ready, because our primary residence is in Washington, D.C. So, but it has been habitable because we've shored up the carport and the deck.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember, I lived in several different states when I was younger, and I've seen 2 houses collapse. And it was kind of the same situation, you know, carport and,
Yes.
you know, the building, I mean, the bedroom above it, you know, it's, can be very scary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Payne?
No.
Anyone else have any questions?
I have one, sir. Did you put this presentation together?
Yes.
And you did what you showed us tonight?
Yes.
I'm gonna have to compliment you.
Oh.
We've seen a lot of these.
Thank you.
This was very well laid out, labeled sometimes you read this stuff and it's like, it's a nightmare.
Right.
Thank you.
Very professional, and I just wanted to compliment you on that. It's outstanding work.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I do apologize. There are some numbers that are incorrect. The square footage kept changing, but it is correct here.
Good.
I'm good, sir.
You beat me to the punch on that one.
Sorry,
Anyone else
Chairman.
have any comments?
What, you want his business card now?
No, I'm not buying anything. But I was like, wow,
Anybody-
this is so great.
Anybody else have any questions?
No.
All right, then we'll open up public testimony. We did not have any comments, written comments. Anyone wishing to testify in this case this evening? We're seeing none. We'll close the public testimony to written and verbal comments and board discussion.
Well, I feel bad for you having to go through all the changes and stuff, but I think when you're done this, I think it'll be very nice, and you'll then finally get to enjoy what you have.
Thank you.
So,
I think it's just a reasonable request.
I think it's a really nice request.
Actually,
okay?
actually, it's imperative that it
Yes.
be approved.
Thank you.
And I go with Mr. LaRocca. It was a very nice presentation.
Oh, thank you very
We
much.
don't normally see this,
Okay.
so this helps the board a lot make a decision. Makes it easier for us. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
that. Mr. Payne, you have any comments?
No.
Open for motion.
Can we read it?
okay. In the matter of VAAP 26-0633, the Cole and Lee property, having made a finding that the standards for granting a variance and the objectives of Section 24.4 of the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance have been met, I move to approve the variance request from Section 71.8.3 to disturb the expanded 100-foot critical area buffer for the repair of a sunroom, deck, and porch attached to an existing dwelling.
Have a
I'll
motion?
second.
And a second. We'll start with Mr. LaRocco.
Aye.
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 Aye. So, Mr. Cole, you can see the board, you voted unanimously to support your request this evening, okay? An order reflecting the board's decision will be prepared by staff and signed by the board within 60 days. A 30-day period follows from the date the order is signed, in which any aggrieved party can appeal this board's decision in circuit court. And we'll send you a copy of the secretary, recording secretary will email you a copy of the order once it's been signed, okay?
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. And thank you to AJ and Sherry and Stacy, being very helpful.
And it's very nice to hear, too, that the staff does what they do, and they work very hard. So we appreciate those
I
comments
could not have
as
done
well.
this without their guidance, so thank you very much.
Great. Thank you for
Thank
those
you.
comments.
Good night.
So we've got a couple of orders to review and sign this evening, but they were, we received those orders we received one of them just not too long enough for the board to be able to review them. So we're going to take about a 10-minute break and let the board take time to read these. Might be 15 minutes, okay? Some of us read a little slower than others. And then we'll come back in session and make our decision, make our votes on these orders, okay? So we'll take about a 15-minute break. All right, we're back in session, and I think we've had opportunity to read the approved order, the proposed orders. So, any questions? Let's look at the variance request order VAAP 25-1354 and variance request VAP 25-1355 Tall Timbers Tavern. Did everyone have an opportunity to get through these this afternoon,
I
this
did.
evening? Any corrections or deletions to these things that we need?
I have a question as to why something was not included, okay? I think you did an excellent job, Mr. Hauser, Counselor, but Mr. Dent in his testimony pointed out that the use of trying to share the parking lots, that oftentimes it occurred on the weekends when both of them were occupied. And in other words, it couldn't be done.
Right.
And you didn't put that suggestion in there that this idea of being shared that perpetrated the audience at the time.
No, because you're right, because my recollection of that is that Mr. Evans, he pointed out that maybe there was a possibility that there was a shared parking agreement, but shared parking agreements only work when the idea there is that one business or one user of the parking lot is going to have a downtime and the other can do in that, and that really wasn't there. But shared parking agreements are also ways to overcome technical. I think kind of at the end of the day, I thought that
No,
it was in
I'm
there that
not
we got it, but.
Saying that you need to put it in, but I'm just asking that question.
No, I just thought it was covered, that knowing it was there in the record, if anybody did want to go back and
I
look and
think
saying
we-
that the
I
board
think
did
we
not see
talked about that.
alternatives.
We
You did.
talked about
And
it,
he,
said it was overlapped, and it was the same time, weekends.
right, but I also thought that they had talked about not being in partnership with this parking lot at that time, that it would be Mr. Hewitt's parking lot.
Yeah, Mr. Hewitt had
Right.
had made a statement up front that
Right.
Yeah.
was
They
never
were not in,
never
they
challenged.
weren't, they were not in partnership with the parking,
Right.
so.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
I'm
my,
just,
no, yeah,
throwing
my
it out
reaction.
for
I know we
discussion.
got Mr. Evans credit for saying the idea, and then I think in the discussion part of the board, just say that the board did not see any alternative or any lesser relief that could be granted than the variance that was being requested, and I thought that was inclusive, especially if anybody does go back to the record. But,
no, I'm not saying that's a no-no for me. I think you did a great
no, I'm
job.
just great. Hey, I
For a
actually,
difficult night we had, right?
I actually proofread that one, too. Eventually.
Any other comments?
No.
Hearing none, then I'd like to have a motion to sign this order approving the parking areas outside of across the road from his establishment that was approved by the board.
Motion to approve the Tall Timbers Tavern property as written.
Have a motion as a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And Mr. Valkett, would you like to sit up when we vote on Sullivan, please? And the next one is the Kosinski property. And the board voted to approve the disturbance in the 100-foot wetland buffer for garage. And it was 5-0 vote on that to approve it. Just need a motion second.
Motion to approve the Kaczynski property variance as written.
Second.
All in
Mr.
favor?
Chair, if I may, before, we've got two clerical corrections to note that Dr. Valky caught while he was
Okay.
observing today's testimony. He gets my law degree for these two ones that he caught, as big as they are. Page 2, under public hearing, change the date June 11th, 2025 to June 11th, 2026. And then page 7, end of paragraph 3, change and will be left with space in to and will, or change and will not be left with space in to and will not be left with no space in.
It's removing the second with.
That's all we called on this one.
Okay. So with the
So with
corrections,
those, yeah.
we can still sign the orders tonight. They're on different pages still with the signatures. So just a motion and a second with the amended, with the corrections.
Okay, motion to approve the Kaczynski property with the amended corrections as outlined.
All right, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the other two we don't have tonight, is that correct? Oh, the Lehman, Atkinson and Lehman, we don't have that one yet.
That was the denial.
Okay. Is that the one that's coming back, though?
No, we continued the pier to give the applicant time to consider whether or
Right.
not they want to amend. Atkinson was the one that was denied last week, and I think we have had some discussions with the applicant since of what bringing that property into compliance with, and they may have some solutions
That was
on
the hot
hand
tub one?
here. Right. That was the one where the person had where the homeowner
Right.
had the variance, did not build quite according to the approved variance, and
Right.
yeah,
Okay. So that
But we're-
one's being discussed at this time.
right. Staff have been staff, and we think we have a way to bring that property owner into compliance. that
So
we're
if they
working
can't
on
come
them
into
with.
compliance, then they'll come to us next month?
Possibly. We're still feeling out exactly what the best way to approach that one is,
Okay.
but we think we have a solution on hand for it.
All right, thank you.
right.
Thank you. All right, the next thing is the minutes from the June 11th meeting. Any corrections, additions, deletions? Can we have a motion to approve them as written?
So moved.
Motion to approve the Board of Appeals meetings for June 11, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And our next meeting is August the 13th? Okay, we have 3 cases that evening? One's a continuance, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that was the pier.
Pier, yep. So, okay.
And I have one comment. We've got an email that came to staff that when we had a discussion about the ACUs and the report that the Navy was preparing, and we had requested that we be advised of when that would occur. And it is going to occur on 4 August at Frank Knox School, and it will be at 4:30. So just be aware of those times, right? 4:30? Yes, and a
Say that
valid
again.
ID is required.
A valid ID? Okay. All right. Anything else that we have? Motion for adjournment, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.